transparently. I'm reading what I get now.
So I will share you my screen. Okay. Do you have any questions before I begin? Otherwise, we can take last minute questions. What should I bring? What should I wear? How should I go? And so on. Just anything. We can take it afterwards. Yeah. So the amendments, they are like changes to the proposals that either sections, it's sections. They are all proposed by sections to the proposals. So it's sections mainly from Switzerland, Poland, some from Belgium, some from Austria as well, that has proposed amendments to the ESN review proposal. Since they don't agree with what is proposed, they have proposed something else. And there are not as many as last year, for those of you who were at AGM last year, but they are 13 of them. And I will just go through and then I will see if you have any questions about something. Does that sound good? So just to explain before how this will work during AGM.
One question, in the final voting, will they have the same name or will they start changing names again?
What do you mean changing name?
Like amendment, what we now see as Amendment 1 will be voted on as Amendment 1?
Yes.
And this is Amendment 1 to Proposal 1?
Yes, there's only one proposal.
Okay.
And they will have, during AGM, these will also be presented by the sections, or their NR will be present on behalf of the section. But then on Sunday, you will be voting first on the amendments, and if the amendments reaches a certain majority, it will replace the content of the proposal. So then the amendment will be added to the proposal and replace what it disagrees with in the proposal. Do you understand? And then finally, after that, you will be voting on the proposal itself with the approved amendments. So say that amendments 5, 9, and 12 gets approved by the sections, then they will be added to the proposal and then you vote on them combined together. But there will be a voting tree as well, which explains how things goes and what happens if this get approved, it replaces that part and so on. But yeah, it's a complicated process, so just tell me, I will explain it again and again. So don't worry. I have some issues to grasp it as well, so it's complicated.
Can I ask for one thing before we start? If I remember correctly, you said that some of those amendments that are actually supported by the international board, or were those the changes that were done during CNR?
These are proposals that are these are amendments from sections, not from the CNR, because the CNR is not a body that is legally allowed now to propose amendments to the amendments.
But are some of those amendments supported by the IB?
I think, I'm not sure actually. They haven't said it. That I knew for CNR Krakow, which were supported, but these ones, if it goes against what the international board has proposed, it goes, like, if it's not the same content that the international board, if it's, for example, for the referendum, they have, say, 30 days and they propose 45, that goes against the proposal from the international board. Do you follow?
Yeah, I was just confused because it says initiated by the board. But that's another board. So none of these amendments is, supported by the IB.
Wait, I know that... No, it's actually from the... Okay, I will get back to this. I will ask a friend. Initiated. Yeah, he's replying, so. Okay, yes. The board means international board. So it's initiated by the international board, so this is supported, or this is like initiated by the international board and the sections from, a few sections from Switzerland and Belgium, it's then supported. So the content of this is to change the question in the referendum, and they explain a bit why. They have some concern about the possibility of the referendum reverting a decision taken with a 2/3 absolute majority. For example, it could have unfair disadvantage for sections in case a 2/3 absolute majority vote. So that's why they want to change it. They want to hold the referendum only when enough sections call for it, as it's proposed. They want to remove the word abrogative and only call it simply referendum and not abrogative referendum. They want to turn around the question so it avoids the unwanted conflict and engages all sections in a referendum, and to lower the number of sections needed to revert the general assembly decision in case of 2/3 absolute majority. So what it means is that wait, I can show you the text. It says that because it's been a lot, Switzerland has been very against the proposal itself, and now they start to be more against some parts of it. So that's why the international board has worked together with the sections from Switzerland to kind of meet halfway. That's how I see it. So that's why they have finally arrived at this compromise, and they believe that these amendments represent a better balance in power and provides the sections a realistic opportunity to revert a decision. So, for example, they change to not call it abrogative referendum and just call it in any referendum instead of in any abrogative referendum. They add that if the quorum is not reached for 50%, the decision of the GA stands, that it's kept and it's not happening anything. They also take away and change that the decision brought forth requires the same majority during the referendum as needed at the General Assembly to be confirmed. If the majority is not reached, the decision of the GA is annulled. So here you then see how it looks with the text that's added and also taken away or replaced. Do you have any questions about it?
I have a general question. If you have the whole file that you're reading right now, could you share it somewhere?
It's already in the AGM drive.
It is. Awesome. Thank you.
All the documents are there. It's under amendments, the folder.
So basically, this like last sentence, that was added here, like the decision brought, blah blah blah. That means that depending on what kind of majority the decision had in the GA, this is the majority that needs to be reached for the referendum.
Yes. So instead of always having to have a 2/3 absolute majority, then, for example, if a decision only needed 50%. A simple majority, for example, then that's the same majority that will be used for the referendum as well. So in order to have it approved, that's the same majority that you will have to have it reverted as well.
Thanks.
So if these amendments get approved, it will replace the current text then. Any questions, or should I continue to the second one? And I just want to add that the amendments are usually the part that's a bit difficult to grasp, because it's replacing and it's the current text and it's the new text and so on, and it needs to be voted in to actually be voted on twice for the original proposal and so on. So that's why it's important to understand it.
Do you want to make maybe a little recap of how that is voted? Because I know that's a bit confusing. It's first we vote on the review and then on the amendments, right?
First you vote on the amendments and then the proposal.
And so we accept the proposal with the amendments that we approve.
Yeah, first is each amendment individually, so you know if you will add it to the proposal itself, and then you will vote for the proposal, including the approved amendments.
Cool.
You can also see, oh god, this thing. Here is the agenda for AGM. Yeah, maybe we should have gone through this as well, but let's see. So here you then see that you will begin with voting on the amendments. So the first amendment, the second amendment, and the third, and so on. And then it will be the vote on the proposal 1 ESN review as a one, together with the approved amendments. Okay?
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
Also for the people, can you go to the other slide shortly?
The agenda?
Yeah. For the people for whom it might be the first AGM, you can see that you only have 3 minutes, right? For the voting. So make be clear what you have to vote on there, because it will be super confusing otherwise.
Yes, on the NP that we will have on Saturday, I hope that we will have the voting tree ready, or it will be ready. So either hopefully printed, and then you can check what you will vote for each thing, so you don't need to sit there and decide, because you shouldn't. Yes. And 3 minutes, it may seem a lot, but when you have a voting machine or two, you will need 3 minutes. So, okay, the second. It's about majorities in the referendum, and it's from ESN Austria and ESN Belgium's sections, which is a lot of numbers, so it's a bit difficult. The reason for it that the votings on the GAs should be based on the opinions of all the members of the network, which means both the countries and the sections. With the currently proposed numbers for the votings, we find it difficult to reverse a decision which was wrongly made. They are not trying to make the referendum extremely easy, so it will be used all the time. So to start the referendum, a certain percentage of sections has to support it, as it's proposed. And if referendum results to be valid, a quorum needs to be reached. And they want to make sure that once these requirements have been reached, reversing the decision is actually achievable and within reason towards the original effort needed to make the decision in the first place. So at the moment in the proposal, the majorities needed are to reach quorum 50% plus one section, which means currently 20 out of 39 national organizations, meaning countries, and they need 265 out of 528 sections to reach the quorum. Not to make it pass, just to reach a quorum. So here they have some examples, what the simple majority, what it needs, absolute and 2/3 majority. absolute majority. And then they propose that you need to reach a quorum of 50%, the same, but then they have different kinds of what it needs in order to reverse it. And what it changes in the text is that the decision brought forth to the abrogative referendum passes if the same type of majority as required to the GA decision in question has been reached. In case of 2/3 absolute majority GA's decision, the decision... Wait a second. I think it's basically the same as Switzerland's. It's just that Switzerland also have some of the question and also to rename it. So it's basically the same.
So basically, it wouldn't make sense to approve both Amendment 1 or 2, because then it would be a conflict in what has to be changed in the text, because it's the same paragraph as well, right?
Well, I think they will explain it, how that works, since they are very similar. But if you agree with one, you probably agree with both of them.
But if they both state the same and they both replace different words, how can we approve both then?
Basically, is there a priority?
Sorry?
Basically, is there a priority? Like, if we vote on both, approve both, does Amendment 1 gets priority over Amendment 2 and overrules it? I think that's the question.
Yeah, like which one would count then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will check that out, and I will get back to you about it.
Right.
Because I'm not sure. But yeah, they will also present their own amendments at stage. We also have the possibility to ask questions there. Then there's an amendments from UK, which is the days that you have in order to call a referendum. So they think it's not sufficient time to form an opinion, rather to call the referendum during 30 days. So that's why they believe that additional time may be needed. So they propose 45 days. So, for example, reconsulting the national organization to read and analyze the minutes, that sections are generally speaking less informed on international topics than the national organization, as is the nature of their priorities and daily activities, and that's why they may need more time to get into it. That's also some of the reasons. So that's why they propose the amendments concerning the referendum procedure come into force. Instead of 31, it's 46 days of the communication to the network, and that the referendum can be called within 45 days of the communication to the network. So instead of 30 days, they're adding 15 days. This is pretty easy to understand, and the numbers and so on, and majorities. So instead of 30 days to call a referendum, it's 45 days. Any questions? Then Amendments 4 is also from UK. UK made 5. It's requirements for the sections as I presented last time that both sections and countries will have both rights, duties, and requirements to follow. So they have proposed amendments for requirements for the sections, the national organization representation in the referendum, which is a reduction of requirements for calling of the referendum from 25% of sections to 20% of sections, and 15% of countries to 30% of countries. So as you see here, it changes from 132 sections to 106 sections, from 6 countries to 12 countries. And they write that they believe that this can empower mid to large size countries to also be able to call a referendum, and also easier requirements to reach for 35 plus sections national organizations. So they mentioned some different scenarios for it.
Sorry when I'm interrupting again. What they are saying there, like, can you go to the numbers again?
Yes.
Because wait, which is the old and which is the new one? The 6 countries and 106 sections are the new one, and the 12 countries and 132 delegations sections are the old ones.
It's 25% sections from 50% of countries.
And they want.
Let's see. It's 25 from 15%.
So they want to increase the number of national organizations involved, but reduce the amount of sections.
Yes, exactly. So 106 sections from 12 countries. So it's this number and this number. And they also then add some scenarios for this, why they think it should be these numbers. And why 20% instead of 25%, because it's not such a big change when it's only 5%, but still it matters. For example, that the current 25% requirements is skewed more towards enabling the big 6 countries in the network to drive referendum decisions. So they can, on their own, make these referendums. And also they see that it should be easier to call referendums for medium-sized countries, sections 2, and not only for the big countries to have referendums. And also why 30% instead of 15%, because that's a bigger change. Because it's not a fair representation across the network, for example, according to them. And they mentioned that it's worth noting that the combined section voting power of the 6 biggest countries in a referendum accounts for 45% of the vote. So in a GA context, the big 6 country voting power accounts for roughly 30%, which is a big difference. And they also made some very nice graphics for this, where you can see the difference between the sections of each country. Not for everyone, but for some. And for example, a big country, that's a 35 plus section. A medium is 8 to 21 sections. And here you also made the country weight, the section weight, and the weighted vote. So you can see, and how it depends per region, and so on. So That's their rationality for why, and then they propose the amendments for 20% from 30% of the NOs. Questions?
Not really a question, but like, isn't it more difficult to reach more countries for a referendum rather than reaching less countries? Because I think as soon as maybe someone in the country is convinced, it's easier to get the other sections up for the plan as well. And if you have to have like 12 countries instead, it might be more difficult.
Yes. Yeah. By default, that you need more of the network involved in the referendum.
I would ask a question about that, Michaela, if you can share your experience. I would believe that the communication of national representative, national organization, then in the future is going well. So it actually shouldn't be that much of an issue to gather more country as per opposition of gathering more sections. Am I correct in that, or because you guys have the same art to talk to each other and such stuff, which sections don't have?
Yeah, but if it's only a few sections from several different countries who would support the referendum, then it's more difficult to get them to match or like get to know about this and coordinate things, I would assume.
No, but that's the thing. Like, first, if it comes from a lot of sections, that means that at least a few countries have to be involved, obviously, because the sections have to coordinate together. So maybe doing national platforms or regional platforms. So that would represent already a few countries. And then those countries' representatives, the national organizations, can talk to the CNR mailing list or to the CNR event or stuff like that, can talk together and say, hey, my region is supporting this referendum. Would you consider supporting it with us? And since they have a more direct contact, I feel it would be more easy.
But you are assuming that every section in the country would have the same opinion, which is barely the case.
But you don't need to have this all the sections from one country. For example, it would be enough if ESN Växjö supported, and then they would have Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's what I think makes it more complicated. I mean, I get the arguing that they want to have more involvement and that the big players, so to say, could just like say, okay, we just overtake every decision and we just have like so much power and so on. So I see where it's coming from, but I think if like if in 12 different countries it's only a few sections who are supporting it, and it would go through the CNR and through the NR or whoever would represent the national organization, then I think it's more difficult if it's only one or two sections in each country who would support it. Because it's not, if it would be the entire country supporting it, then it would be easier. But if it's only like one or two sections, I think then the coordination is more difficult.
But the referendum is a safety measure for sections and not for the countries.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if the sections are not interested. If there's only one section that wants to make the abrogative referendum per country, then that means that the network as a whole doesn't work the referendum. So it's fine, we don't have to bother anyone. But it's the opposite case where if a lot of sections want to make the referendum, but they all come from tiny countries, then it has to go through the CNR or something. Or from big countries, I guess.
Yeah, so as this time I'm not consulting, so it's up to you how you feel about the voting, and then it's up to you to decide how you do that. Compared to when I vote on your behalf.
But wouldn't you say that it's a bit more complicated, because it's about calling the referendum? So it's not about having the referendum, it's about having enough countries and sections involved so that the referendum can be called.
Yeah.
Right? So then if
happen.
it's only ESN from Sweden, then it would be probably more difficult for us maybe to know, hey, we want to support this referendum because we don't know what's going on in the other countries. And if it's not the entire country or a majority of the country who would be supporting this, then I think the way through the NR or the national organization would be a bit difficult there.
You don't need to go, the referendum is not through the national organization. It's because...
I know, but I mean what Guillaume suggested with that the NR or the person representing the national organization could bring it up in the CNR that hey, some of our sections in our country are up for this kind of referendum. Are there any other sections in other countries who would be up for that referendum?
No. That's not what I said. The issue that you're pointing at here is that they're raising the number of national organizations from 15% to 30%. What I'm saying is that's not a problem, because if I'm assuming the communication is better at the national organization level than the sections level. So if already 20% of the sections in the network wants this referendum to happen, then all the national representatives of those sections, so let's say that represent 5 countries of the network, all those national representatives can say at the CNR, hey, so there's 100 sections from, the Northern Europe who wants to call the referendum, so we need 6 more NRs, national organizations, to support that, right? That's what this proposal is. It means we need more national organizations to be able to support the referendum if a lot of sections are supporting it. But since there are better communication tools at this level, I think it's less of an issue than if we do the opposite. Because as you pointed out, precisely the opposite is harder. To get more sections but less national organization is harder. But to get more national organizations but less sections is easier for the sections. So it makes sense that way.
So you mean basically then the CNR could work as a, we would tell our national organization, hey, we would want to have a referendum about this and this, and then our NR or the person representing the national organization could bring it up at the CNR and see which other sections from other countries would be up for the same referendum, and then it can be seen whether the majority is reached.
No, it's not that.
No, not the sections, just the national organizations. Because that's the point that is being raised by this amendment. They're saying, as it says in the example in numbers, basically when you would need 6 national organizations in this current proposal, with our amendment you would need 12 national organizations. So let's say that because of a regional meeting like NEP, we have 6 national organizations, right? All the Northern European countries have some sections that want the referendum that represents 20% of the sections of the network. So they want a referendum, but it's only 6 national organizations. So we need 6 more national organizations. What I'm saying is that those 6 NRs, for instance, can bring it up at the CNR and say, hey, we need 6 more NRs on board with us. And that's it. Because they meet more often, the national organizations meet more often than the sections do.
They only would meet twice per year.
Well, you still have, I assume, something like the CNR mailing list or stuff like that, CNR Facebook group or whatever you guys do.
But the sections need to come from 30% of the national organization, so you don't need to have ESN Sweden involved.
Yeah, that's what I meant, because I think it's a bit misleading formulated, because in the introduction it was more clear that it's the countries and not the national organizations.
Well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, I know, but there it says they have to be from different countries, and below it might hint on that the national organization has to support it, which is not the case. The sections from this country or this national organization would just need someone who would make them heard on the international level, or so that the other countries can check with their sections.
But that's the duty of the national organization.
Well, the referendum is a safety measure for the sections, and if they are not happy with the decision that the GA has taken, then it's up to them as well. This is their safety measure. It's not for the ESN Sweden to come to the sections and, do you want to make a referendum, guys? It's the sections that need to take this step to do that.
Yes, but once that's done, and the sections of, for instance, some sections in Sweden say, yeah, we want that referendum to happen, then the national organization has to bring that up to the CNR, or to the CNR mailing list or something.
Like, for example, if you see here, it says ESN Belgium, but it's only one Belgium section that is part of it. But ESN Belgium, that's what
I mean the representative. Because otherwise, like, they wouldn't represent them correctly.
Yeah, but that's the entire point about it, because why would you want to have a referendum if the all national organizations voted according to what the sections wanted? Like, you only need it when a decision was taken that was not in favor of this many sections from several different countries.
I think you just like...
That's the point of the safety measure. It's like the section then tell the national organization, sorry, but we get that you were voting in your own mind and all, but we disagree with your vote. So can you please bring that up? That's your job as representative. You don't have to agree with what the sections are thinking, but we want to be represented that way and to bring up the safety measure referendum.
I think you just need to look if you think that these numbers are good or not, if we need a higher for countries or a lower for sections, or if the proposed ones are enough. I think that's because the question that it's about to be called, you can't change that. The question is about numbers. Do you agree with these numbers or not? That's what you need to think about for the voting.
But to understand if those numbers are fine, I would need to understand, I think we will need to understand how the representation is done, because right now I have the feeling that you guys are saying if sections say to the national organization, we want to call a referendum, it's like the national organization doesn't have a duty to say, okay, we'll bring that up to the CNR or to the CNR mailing list. But they should, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they will get the result communicated from the GA decision within 30 days of the communication.
The opposite way.
Yeah, but that's the entire point, that this is really difficult because you have to get the sections connected and not the national organizations. And that's why, but I think as far as I remember, at least from like previous calls, I'm not sure if this is outdated or not, there would be like another way of communicating between the sections, how a section could initiate the process of, hey guys, we want to have a referendum, who is supporting this, so that it doesn't have to go through the national organization. Like, because you only have 30 days, so there's no CNR happening 30 days after the GA.
Well, there's no CNR ever happening again, but no, like you would have the section mailing list, for example, and for those of you who were at NEP, you try this. It would not be through a Facebook group, but there will be some online platform to gather support.
Yeah, but the question is, how do we get 30% of the national organizations?
You just need to get a 20% from the from sections, and they need to be from 30% of the countries. So you just need to have a diverse where the sections are from.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should continue because it's more about if you see the numbers, so and not about the referendum itself, because it's kind of set in stone now.
Sorry, that's fine. Just asking about the process of the intentional development. But that's fine. Thank you.
No worries. I'm glad you're discussing. Then the Amendment 5 is also from UK. It's about establishment of a post-calling process of the referendum. And it's that the original proposal it doesn't include a time frame for a given referendum that has been called by the sections to be both consulted and voted upon. They want to establish a process with a consultation and voting window all within a specific time frame. And they mention the reasons, and then they add that the referendum is held no sooner than 30 days and no later than 45 days after it is initiated. And the referendum is to be open for votes to be cast for no less than 7 days and no more than 14 days. So it more or less adds a time limit when it can be held, and also after when it has been initiated. So after it has been initiated, then it needs to be held no sooner than 30 days and no later than 45 days. It's also that the vote has to then be open to reach the majority required for no less than 7 days and no more than 14 days. So this is about adding a time frame for it. Amendment 6 is from Finland, one section in Finland, so...
Sorry when I'm interrupting again.
No, don't.
The initiation, does that mean that there is already a referendum, or is that basically when the first section decides, hey, we want to have a referendum?
No,
what is the initiation?
When it's initiated, that's when it has been called and it had reached the support to be called. It's just now it needs to happen. It would need to reach, the vote. For example, if we need a 2/3 absolute majority for it to be held, then initiated means it already reached a quorum.
Okay, so basically the referendum would then be presented to the sections, and then for 30 days, nothing would happen. Like, it would only be like, hey, we have this referendum, and then 30 days after there would be the voting for 7 days.
Yes.
Or 14 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then we have from ESN Alto, from one section in Finland. So they didn't agree, so they decided to go on by their own to propose an amendment. As I said, there's rights and duties. So rights of sections, they want to add that sections shall have the right to be consulted and informed by the national organization on their voting at the General Assembly. So before it was only be informed. A section needs to be informed by ESN Sweden on their voting at the General Assembly. Now they also added they need to be consulted. And for the national organization, have the duty to consult their sections, not before a General Assembly, but about the proposals to be discussed during the General Assembly and decide on the vote, which shall represent the majority consensus among the member sections. Basically, they want to make sure that sections have the right to be consulted, and also that the national organization should consult about the proposals and decide on the vote. Yes. Then we have.
Why are they the only ones who are calling for that? It seems like such an important thing, or am I like misinterpreting something?
I think some may seem that this goes back to the same thing that we have today, that we want to take away a bit of the direct vote, that it shouldn't be a right or like a duty that you have to consult for that.
I believe this was discussed in the previous review call, and I believe the main issue here, and then people can agree with it or not, is that if the sections have to be consulted and have to decide on what is going to be voted in, then the national organization have to stick to the vote, no matter what happens during the General Assembly. So extreme scenario here, if a candidate, for instance, for international board comes on the stage of the General Assembly and start insulting everyone and saying racist stuff, but the sections decided to vote for that candidate, then the national organization still have to vote. The national organization have to vote no matter what happens. I think that was why it's not implemented in the review first. So then people can debate on that, but correct me if I'm wrong, Michaela?
Yeah, I think that's also, I'm not sure, but I will guess that it was also about representative democracy, that you trust your representatives also. You're there, you know your country, and that's why you represent them.
But I mean, consulted doesn't, like, that's basically what you did in the past, that every section who wanted to have a discussion, you had the discussion with them and presented the topics that will be voted on, and then you asked for their opinion, but you don't necessarily have to stick to it. That means consulted, right? So you have to, the sections have the right to be consulted, but if they don't want to, they don't need to. But it doesn't mean that the national organization has to vote on behalf of what the section said, necessarily.
But then you read this.
Yeah, but I mean the first paragraph.
Yeah, but the second.
Okay. And this is for votes where usually it would only be the national organization voting.
Yes, the sections have no voting power at the General Assembly. Yes, then we have, we're halfway through. We have the National Organization, General Assembly, consultation requirements from the ESN UK. And they would like to add requirements for the national organization, to duties of a national organization to consult their sections before a GA, and then it will be up to each country how they will do it, and they will have it in their national statutes and establish procedures how they will do these procedures. So it's written already that to consult the sections before a General Assembly, but it's then up to the national organizations to add consultation procedures to their statutes. So whatever works best for each country, they add it to the statutes, because we all from different country, and what works from Italy maybe not work for Sweden, for example. Then we have Amendment 8, which you can see is quite supported. This one, Ellen, you asked about what the International Board thinks. This is not supported by the International Board. And this one, this was brought up at CNR Krakow. Yes, it was. And I voted no for it because the International Board didn't agree with it. It's from some countries here. For example, here you can see that Denmark, but Denmark only have one section, Odense, but still they're there. They want to have harmonized consultation of sections. So they want to have an automatic section consultation vote from the CT to all the sections to the place within the 30 days before a General Assembly on a topic that affects sections directly. And it, let's see, it's part of the section consultation, the previously called facultative referendum to ask for the opinions. So what do you think about this topic? So there they add that the section consultation must be launched within 30 days before the GA meeting, and it must be open for a minimum number of 7 days. The results of the section consultation have to be made available for the individual national organization latest for 10 days before the GA. The section consultation must contain the votes as defined in the section consultation guidelines.
why exactly did the international board not support this? Am I missing something?
No, it's fine. Let's see. It was because wait. I think it goes back to this representative democracy, that you have your representatives and to trust that they vote, they know the country and so on, and that something, for example, as Guillaume mentioned, maybe something happens on spot or something, and then you already had a section consultation launched, and it was open, and it was done 10 days before, but something may happen during the meeting itself, and then it's not possible because it's written in the statutes how the results have to be available before, and also make all the results available is a very complicated process, I believe.
So basically, if this paragraph wouldn't be added, that would mean that a section consultation could also happen later than those 30 days before the General Assembly. And then there would not be a documentation about it. So it would be like less formal but easier to maintain in a short time.
Yeah.
And like, what is the argument of all these sections supporting this?
Why? The idea is to have a harmonized consultation of sections on topics that affect them directly to ensure no imposement of decisions on the sections they wouldn't agree with. This amendment aims to give the sections as much centralized incentive as needed to stimulate their interest in topic discussions within the national organization internationally. And they really push for this one, so that's why they even made a concept note, which are a few pages. Why?
Can you define concept note? Is it just like an extensive document additionally to...
Yeah, it's like an ID, for example, for this. Yeah, so they mentioned some things there, why they think this. For example, during Siena Krakow, the International Board, they took parts of this amendment where it was to call it section consultation, but they didn't agree with the rest, so that's why it wasn't added. I can also ask more why the International Board didn't. Which one? And
also, as it's supported by so many ESN sections and countries, like if this amendment doesn't pass, that probably then affects how they would vote for the proposal number 1, right?
I think that depends a bit how you see on everything on the proposal itself. Do you agree with the whole idea, or is this tiny part so important for you that you vote no for everything? Like, it's not set in stone, like you can still propose this change for next year, for example. So I wouldn't say that they would vote no. Some maybe would, just for the sake of it, but I don't think this defines the whole proposal itself. But I will get back why the IB didn't support it. Then we have the Arbitration Board and the Audit Commission. So the Arbitration Board was the body that will solve potential conflicts. For example, if there's a code of conduct report, then they could solve or mediate this conflicts then. And then it's from UK, and they want to add that any information that is disclosed during mediation cannot be used as evidence for the purpose of arbitration proceedings. And for the mediation procedure, they want to delete that the arbitration board is responsible for acting as a mediator in order to help the parties to the dispute to reach a consensus. So instead they want to add that the arbitration board is responsible for appointing a mediator under the discretion of the arbitration board. The mediator cannot be a member of any of the bodies of ESN, for example, the General Assembly, the International Board, or so on. And a mediator should also act in dispute, is excluded from participating in arbitration proceedings should the dispute be not resolved by mediation. Sorry, this statute language. So, it's more to add about the information and also how the procedure would happen. This is also an amendment that was proposed on CNR in Krakow as well, that I voted no for, since also the International Board did not agree with it. So it's to add rights for the Audit Commission to do the body which will do financial audit, or Arbitration Board, which solves conflicts, to propose statutes or standing orders, changes to it. It's a very simple one in them. They want to add, at the moment, it would be the International Board and the national organizations that can initiate amendments to the statutes. They want to add that also the Audit Commission or the Arbitration Board should also be able to initiate amendments. And
they will be a legal body in the new ESN review, right?
Yes. But the reason why it was not supported by the board was that it's not a task of the body that does financial audit or the arbitration board that handles conflicts to initiate amendments to the statutes.
But so, for example, if the arbitration board would see that there is like a certain problem in the statutes and that they have a lot of issues and problems to deal with because of this, or maybe something should be added to the statutes, they could still somehow recommend it, and then it could be picked up by other ESN sections or countries to amend it.
Sections could not initiate amendments. It would only be the board or the national countries, yeah.
Okay.
So, but as it's a body that works close to the board, if it does financial audit, but they could then, the board could initiate amendments, but from them, for example.
So they could give recommendations then, still?
Yeah, I see it as they were work close by, but the idea was not that it's not their task to do these things.
Maybe a bit of a stupid question, but like, I mean, the work or the purpose of the AC and AB is to be the controlling body, not the legislative body.
Exactly.
So it would basically mix up those three parts, like executive, legislative, and...
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
okay.
There are no stupid questions.
Yeah, but it's like pretty general.
No, there are just people who don't want to answer the stupid questions. Remember that. Yes, and then it's the same. This is basically the same, but it's instead of to the statutes, it's that the Audit Commission and the Arbitration Board should be able to propose to the General Assembly. Or that that they can that the members of these bodies, that they have the right to propose and to speak. Which means, since there are other participants, they would all the addition is that they have the right to propose.
Propose means proposing topics, right? To the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks. But those bodies, they would have to, I assume, do a mandatory report at some point during the GA, like the Secretariat does now.
Yes, exactly. So still today, the financial auditors, they also have They have their financial report at AGM,
Yeah.
since it's a legal document like that.
So it's not like we don't hear them anyway.
No, you will hear them.
Can you give an example? Like, what would they propose there? I don't get it. Like, because I mean, like, as far as I understand it, it's not the same, because in the other one they could, like in the previous proposal, they could make amendments, and here they could just propose something to the General Assembly, but it wouldn't be an amendment added to the statutes.
No,
Right.
the previous one is to propose to legal documents of ESN. To this one is to be able to propose to the meeting, to the statutory, the highest decision-making body of ESN. So it's one is to the legal documents, the one is to the meeting.
But so how it looks now, they would also not be allowed to speak.
Yes, all participants are allowed to speak.
Okay, so that would be happening anyways, but they couldn't propose.
Yeah. It's the same, for example, during our NPs, correct me, Marcus, if I'm wrong, but our guests, they are not allowed to propose.
Guests can be allowed to talk and to be present if given permission by the organizers, but not voting.
And not proposing.
I don't think the word proposing is mentioned in our statutes, rather speaking. I can check it up, wait.
I think I need to see a dentist tomorrow. Just by the way.
Yeah. You need to. I took a screenshot of your browser before. It says visdomständer som ger problem.
It's not funny. You can't do this. I'm leaving on Saturday. I don't want to see a dentist in Greece.
Good job.
I would not recommend that.
No.
I think they give you some uso too.
Yeah.
No, so guests can only be invited to attend and speak. They cannot be invited to propose.
So there you see as well that, yeah, just some comparison. Then we have another amendments that's initiated by a section in Iceland. They want to revision of the General Assembly vote delegations. As you know, now it's pretty strict with the vote delegations that, for example, Ryan and Jessica, who are the presidents of their sections, they had to delegate the vote to themselves, which is a bit interesting and time consuming and so on. And it needs to be done 1 month before AGM. So they would like to change this, that as it's countries then and not sections, but then if each national organization is required to delegate its votes to the legal representative during present at the General Assembly, unless the legal representative is presently attending. So for example, ESN Sweden's legal representative would be the president, and the president of ESN Sweden is then required to delegate a vote to unless actually the president is attending. If not, they need to delegate a vote. So they want to take away that if the president is attending, they don't need to delegate a vote to themselves. They also want to add that it can be a digitally signed document or a written and signed document containing the vote delegation. And if no vote delegation is received, the vote is delegated to the legal representative by default. And also that it needs to be before the meeting begins. So instead of delegating to yourself, it should be by default be like that. And then finally, it's a non-ESN review amendment from the board, the international board, which is since this was approved last year with the Audit Commission Arbitration Board, they realized some things that they want to add, that they should not, the Audit Commission and the Arbitration Board, they want them to be elected by the CNR as well by the AGM. So both the CNR and the sections during AGM. So for example, this is an amendment if ESN review doesn't pass, that we have this, that the Audit Commission and Arbitration Board is elected just as the International Board is today, from two different bodies, from the sections and from the CNR. So this is if ESN review doesn't pass, they have added this to also fix what needs to be fixed from last year.
But wait, you said we vote on the amendments before we vote on proposal 1.
Yes, I think this is a that comes afterwards though. Regulations. Yeah, I think you vote on it, and if ESN review doesn't pass, then it will be, because this doesn't go in line with the current proposal of ESN review. So, because this does not make sense in the ESN review proposal, because there would be no AGM and there would be no CNR. So this is if ESN review doesn't pass, they fixes issues from last year. And that's it. I will also get back about the first and second, the difference. Apparently there is a difference, but it needs to be, it's very fussy. But so yeah, I will get back and yeah, share it with you somehow how it is, the difference. And also why the IB didn't support Amendment 8, which was the harmonized section consultation. So yeah, as I said, they will present this, so you will also get the ID then, but then you also only see one side of the amendment and not other sides, since yeah, there's not really a counter amendments, it's in the proposal itself. Yeah. Do you have any other questions for that? Otherwise, I would invite you to read you through the nice statute text, which is very easy to understand. Not.
Is this document on the drive? Because I can't find it at the moment.
Yeah,
in that case, okay.
It's in the ESN review, and then amendments, and then this is the 3.5. This is the summary.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. I've added.
And all other documents that are in there are summarized in this one, right?
Yes, exactly. So
okay.
I saw after
so we just ignore the other ones.
Yeah, after I downloaded each individual one, I saw that they added a summary of everything together, which was nice. So here, as you have all the documents for everything. Yeah, we will also talk about each amendment as well during the NP on Saturday, where we have 1 or 1.5 hours to do so, to go through everything and also clear things. And we will also during CNR from Monday, we will also have a further small sessions and presentations about them. So then I will also have some more insight to these, because they were proposed 16 days before AGM, so like 10 days ago. We can just quickly do this before, if you have any other questions before. Did we do this last time? No, right. I think I just said that there is the agenda, it exists. Anyways, this is the agenda for AGM Thessaloniki. I don't think the times will stay as they are. They will very much change, postpone and early put things earlier and so on. As I said, you have the voting devices to pick them up. But I said in one call that, as you know, that the first floor is the plenary room. So if you can just go down and then go eat breakfast and pick it up first, if you want to be smart. But maybe all the other 500 people also thinks the same, so they will also go down in pajamas and pick it up. So let's see. Up to you. It's just Friday begins with just some welcome messages and so on. There's from the head of the OC, from the president of ESN, a video message from the European Commission, and then they will instruct you how you will use your voting devices, a Q&A if that's needed, and then they will make the quorum check. They will present the AGM assistants who will, for example, do legal advice. They will do, there's some language translators because the statutes need to be translated to French and so on. They need scrutinizers and so on. They will go through rules of the games, how everything works. You will approve the agenda. Everything that's yellow, it's you voting. And also the speaker list procedure, how that will be done. You vote on minutes from the previous AGM last year. They will explain the code of conduct, safety protocols, I'm not sure what that means. They will explain social media and communication, how you can use your social media that tell the whole world that you are at AGM. Then there will be 2 partner presentations. They will tell the state of the network, how it is. There will be a report on the long-term strategy, the board report, what they have been doing this whole year. They're going to summarize their whole year in 10 minutes individually. Then there's some different other reports, financial reports and so on, the budget, 2 lunch shifts, so you have lunch 45 minutes in the same hotel. And then there's the international board candidates, the whole afternoon. And we are supposed to end at 6, but that will not happen. And then at 9:30 international dinner begins. Then on Saturday, you don't need to pick up voting devices, it seems like, so you will begin at 8, or we. And then we will begin with a certain AGM 2020 candidacy. And Q&A for that. And then there's the vision and strategic priorities that I introduced last meeting, and the 3-year plan and action plan. And then there will be some open space, which I'm not sure what that's more. Presentation of the logo, a Q&A. ESN is celebrating 30 years. And then they will begin with ESN review and the amendments. The proposal, they will explain the whole proposal in half hour. Same with lunch in 2 shifts. Amendments, you see 5 minutes per each amendment. There will be a poster session where all 800 participants will go around with posters and have a facilitator, a bit interactive. And then they will launch a new wiki, finally changing from the old one. And then we will have our end piece for 1.5 hours. And then there will be the culture night. And then voting devices pick up at 7:30. Some different, one presentation before you go to vote for everything. The info market for 5 hours. It will be by bus, so you need to leave, or we need to leave. And then there's the votings again, and the votings for the election of international board. Voting of AGM OC next year, and then some causes, introduction and so on, and some projects. And so on. The committees usually have space here, but you will probably see them during the info market instead. Some, oh yeah, they're here, sorry, never mind, you have them here. As I said, the language auditor's report, you need to vote on French version of the statutes, and so on. And then it's done at 7:20, where the gala begins after. That's a very, very brief report, conclusion of the agenda. I didn't have so much more planned. It's more if you have any last minute questions or something 1 week before it begins. If there's anything you have, yeah,
I have a small one.
sure.
Maybe no. I've noticed on the candidates blog that not every candidate have answered their question. Do you
Yeah.
know anything's up with that, or
It's closed. They can't answer more.
so that just missed the deadline?
Yeah, they couldn't make it. Everything.
I mean, there was a lot of questions.
Yes, there was a lot. We posted our reply at midnight, so
Yeah, no, Sweden is fine. We have
yeah. But it was very last minute. So and we have. Go ahead.
In case you already said that it might happen that the plenaries take longer than it is in the schedule now. If that would be the case, would the evening program also start later so that there's some time in between to like at least relax for half an hour and get rest and so on?
I'm not sure really about it. I can check with the OC if how flexible they are during CNR, what they have in mind. Social program delayed. But I'm not sure. It may be that they still, if okay, you have 50 minutes to change now, so okay, do the best out of it. I'm not sure, actually. Or you just take a later bus because there will be buses, so that you go with not the first bus, that you go with the 5th bus, for example. Yeah, otherwise I think that's just fill out your travel times and if you haven't done that and what you bring for international dinner and so on.
Yeah, I will add my new travel time when I get one.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's more.
How are we doing alcohol-wise so far? Are we like in the limit still?
I haven't checked the sheet yet. I saw Guillaume and I saw Shardob. That was it, I think.
I think I wrote that I could bring Absolute Vodka as well. But I will not bring Aquavit.
Yeah, I will also bring Absolute.
Oh.
Yeah, we need to make Sweden look good. So no shitty drinks this time. No basket dropa and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized I have a lot of face paint. Like
Where can we find the sheet for the international dinner?
it's in the same the AGM.
Oh, sorry.
It's called ESN Sweden participants.
Also, I don't know whether you guys saw it already, but there's a Spotify playlist for the international dinner where every country is supposed to add songs from their country. Do we want to elect someone unofficially who's in charge of that?
How many songs we're allowed to put?
I don't know, it didn't specify,
Okay.
but I think it makes sense that one person maybe picks some like Swedish songs, like maybe some
No, I
newer and older ones.
think it's supposed to be chaotic. I think everybody should propose stuff. That's what's already happening.
Okay, so we will have the same, we will have like Hey Monica 20 times or something like that.
Well, I don't know if you can have repetition of the song. Like it might say, oh, it's already in the playlist.
Yeah, you will also, yeah, I think the best is just that once everyone is arriving in Thessaloniki to meet, and then there will be more time that when to meet for the flag parade, and also just to check into the hotel. And I'm pretty sure if you're there, Javed and Marcus will be happy to meet you, to show you Thessaloniki.
At which time?
No, just when you arrive. Because I have no idea when I arrive, so they will
Yeah.
take care of you.
Because I will be there basically from the morning already because I arrived the evening before. So are there other people from Sweden who are also up for like exploring the city a bit before we go to the hotel, or?
You have here the traveling times for everyone, so you can also see if you...
Yes, I would like to do that.
Who was talking?
Shardub's talking.
Ah, nice.
Hey, Ellen, I'd also be into that. I arrive at 1:20, so I have a little bit of time getting in before flight break.
Nice.
Also, Ellen, how much Absolute will you bring?
Like 1 bottle.
Okay, so maybe I bring one and you bring one. Is that so? We don't want to go over the limit.
Like, wait, like how many participants do we have again, Michaela?
At AGM?
Yeah, like from ESN Sweden.
We're 20.
20. So wait, per 3 participants we can bring 1 bottle of vodka, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then we can bring a lot of vodka.
Is no one bringing licorice? Like, I personally don't like licorice at all, but it's very Swedish.
Yeah.
Do you mean like licorice alcohol or like sweets?
Licorice candy. I'm trying to look at the list right now. We've got like cheese and some various stuff.
I think in the loose goodies from Michaela, there are probably licorice in there, I assume.
Yeah, I got some. Some few.
But so we have like, wait, 1 bottle of flag punch?
Yeah, the Gothenburg delegation is taken care of, basically.
Okay, that's great. But like we have, like who else is it? Like Shadow and me. We only have 3 people so far who are bringing alcohol. That will look really sad.
I think it's easier, like, everybody finds 2 other people who's bringing alcohol and, like, reserve them. And then people can decide. We all have a chat and the list, so we can easily see who is not. Like, we can make a count.
Okay.
Alcohol from Gothenburg, Lydia.
I can team up with you, Jessica.
Yeah, I can for sure bring liquor as well, too, if that's what you want.
No, I meant like because Guillaume said we should have 3 people for 1 bottle.
Yeah, so if you
okay,
bring...
yeah, well, I think Leeson will probably be in it too, so then that's 3 of us already.
Yeah, and then you don't need to bring such, like, food or something if you bring alcohol, so we divide it...
I will bring food as well.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's so much sweet stuff, but it's so difficult to bring, like, salty.
Great things are hard, yeah.
Yeah, like, you have fridge, but then you travel, and, like, yeah, I probably make it, but, yeah. I also will ask if we can have a table next to Denmark and Norway to make a Scandinavian table.
But also, like, how are we gonna, like, prepare, for example, because I saw that someone was suggesting falukov. Like, how are you gonna prepare that, or are we just eating it raw?
Raw.
I mean, it tastes okay. I'm not complaining, I'm just asking questions.
Yummy.
It doesn't taste bad. We eat it like this all the time in Germany because it's actually German, and then the Swedes decided to massacre it by frying it.
Again, we need to give people envy to come to AGM Sweden next year. So let's not be too eccentric with the food.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, we need to have at least enough alcohol. Otherwise, they will already be like, do we really want to come to Sweden?
I think we have to showcase nice alcohol.
Yeah,
We
but
don't
like
have
also
it.
maybe different kinds, not only absolute.
I may bring like, what is it called, black currant thing.
Yeah.
I know that Javed will go. Javed, you will go to Finland.
Oh man, I wish we could bring like glögg or something. Is that still around?
Yeah, like I still have a bottle of glögg, but I'm not sure. Like, how do you heat it up and then I put it in my thermos, or how do we do that?
Just bring a kettle, you know. That
works.
Yeah, but do we have something where we can heat it up? That's the problem.
There's gotta be like a coffee machine or something inside the hotel.
Oh god.
Our hotel. I mean, and a coffee machine's gonna taste terrible.
It's in
Or-
Greece, just leave it outside.
Okay, it's not gonna be that warm. I'm super disappointed. Like, it's only like 19 degrees.
Oh, Ligia's bringing alcohol as well. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Nice. But can maybe everyone who wants to bring alcohol write it in the sheet? Not that we either end up with too few alcohol or way too much and then we have to drink it ourselves.
Oh, that sounds like a
That would be
terrible.
a shame.
Yeah. No, but I was really thinking like what other like Swedish liquor there is, because I mean we don't want to steal the liquor from Finland or something like that.
We can also
Like we want to have Swedish liquor. So like small syre, for example, is also not Swedish, right?
No, I think it's Danish.
That's Danish. Yeah.
we can also bring beers. I think we have-
Oh yeah, Norrlandsgård, best beer.
No.
Coming from a German, hey?
No, no, indeed.
Will they provide shot glasses and such?
They have, wait, I think they have glasses. I wrote it somewhere. I just made so much. I don't know why Facebook is saying I'm against the rule. There's rules of Facebook and I'm posting against them. That's why my posts are not coming up.
What are you doing, Michaela?
No, I
You're
think
not
it's- I
supposed
think
to
it's like-
share your
What's
pictures.
blinking Agava feet?
I think it's links. Yeah, they will provide. They will provide knives, plates, cups, and toothpicks.
Cups, good enough. We can work with cups.
Just Swedish size shot glasses.
That would be hilarious. Oh, I still have some of the red buckets left.
Yeah.
Michaela.
Red buckets?
The red party mugs.
Ah, okay. Yeah, me too. And I think I have one Swedish flag, but I don't have my ESN Sweden flag, and I don't have my second Swedish flag, and I don't have my moose. They are gone, but I will find them.
Yeah, I have this really big Swedish flag that I already had last time. I will bring
Yeah,
it.
that's great. And
That's
if
also
your
nice for reserving.
if your sections has a mascot, feel free to bring that. I expecting to see the shrimp.
Yes, I was gonna say I want to see Glenn.
Yeah.
Guy and Linja, please take note.
ESN Linköping actually bought a new mascot because ours was
I
gone.
heard, but what do you have?
Now,
Yeah.
a baby lion.
Oh yeah, it's a lion that's Linköping.
A really Swedish animal, I must
Yes.
say.
It's there for
It's the
Linköping.
animal of our municipality as well, so that's why.
Ah, okay.
Oh, it's also the symbol of Gothenburg somehow.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't know how many Swedish kids say like, oh, lion, that's cool, let's take that.
But yeah, just if there's anything during the days when I'm at CNR, just because the OC will be there as well, and also the IB, and I can ask for the amendments if you have any questions. And it may take longer, but use the chat otherwise, so everyone will also get the messages. And well, you're free to also write personally, but so everyone knows, and yeah, and then it will get more intense. So that's nice. And also, don't forget fancy clothes for the gala. That's
How
important.
fancy.
I
Can we
would.
wear like cocktail dresses instead of long dresses?
Yeah, sure. Like I have a lot of people who said they will have a short dress, so long dress is not required.
I was like, I did not travel all this way with a long dress.
I think that no, I haven't decided myself, but it's it's up to, but it's just asked to have some fancy. So since that's the last day of AGM and so on. I will send you a link as well for so you can see how it was last year, so you get some inspirations.
But like Michaela, come on, you're a Swedish person. You have to tell us what other Swedish liquor there is. I always try to search, but I can't find something apart from the regular stuff.
We don't have any. Or Marcus?
Sorry, I was zoning out.
Swedish alcohol.
Alcohol.
Swedish alcohol.
liquor. Swedish liquor. Like that is not from Denmark or Finland. Is there something except for vodka and aquavit?
You have
I can't find anything.
like snaps,
And-
Hallandsfläder.
Have you tried punch?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we
we-
already have one bottle of that.
Hallandsfläder. Snaps.
What?
Hallandsfläder, snaps.
What?
Hallandsfläder is
I don't
elderberry.
know that.
Elderberry.
Is it snaps as well?
Yeah.
Can you get that at Systemet?
Yes.
I can try to find it.
Okay. If you don't have any questions to me, like feel free to stay and discuss AGM and when you're gonna travel. And there's a lot of people flying together actually. I saw from who's flying. It was Lisen, Sebastian, Jonathan, and then there was. Yeah, okay, it was 3 people, but still. I thought it was more, but yeah. Yeah. So, if you want to chat or what you're gonna bring and so on, I need to take care of my tooth. I'm dying. I need to schedule a dentist appointment tomorrow before I leave on Saturday. This is not good.
Good luck.
Yeah, I need that, I think. Okay, great. I'm very much looking forward to see you in Greece. I will keep you posted of how the weather is. So,
Awesome.
it's really exciting. I'm super excited. It's gonna be like seeing 800 people in the same place, and yeah. Okay, great. I need to call a dentist or take
Take care.
painkillers. Okay, have a nice evening. Thanks for the
Take
call.
care of you,
Bye-bye.
Michaela.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.